As soon as I open it, roaches. To where when I walked in the house,
did you scream?
You don't know my life, bro.
Welcome back to Econix Talks, guys.
When I pop up, everybody gonna be like, man, overnight success.
Lifestyle topics, entrepreneurship, and investing.
Are you serious about this? Because if you are, then I'm willing to back the business.
We want to inform you, educate you, and empower you so that you can maximize your life. Let's get started. What's up, everybody? I want to give a huge shout out to all the new supporters that have joined us this year, and I can never forget my day one, so shout out to y'all too. As most of you guys know, running an independent podcast takes a ton of time and energy. Now, if you ever benefited from an episode of this show or mini episodes and you'd like to support, you can do that by buying us a coffee. You can reach that by the support link in the show notes, or if you're following me or Econix on Instagram, it'll be in the link in the bio. And this will be used to cover any expenses that come with the show. I appreciate everything you guys have done, and this has been such a fulfilling year. Now, on to this episode. Welcome back to another episode of Econix Talks, guys. Today, we have my girl, Shaunette Stokes, y'all. She is the founder and owner of Stokes Law Group, which was founded in 2014. She's been in entrepreneurship since 2012. A fun fact, she may not like that I tell this about her, but y'all, she's a sneakerhead. So if your shoe game whack, I'm letting you know now. She probably either got the shoes, because she's the one who shuts down the sneakerhead app, all of that. So she got all y'all shoes out there. Anyway, man, Shaunette, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I'm so excited to have you. So welcome.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
No problem. So I'm going to get right into it. So obviously you've been in entrepreneurship for a while, but I want to start by telling your story, because I was telling you offline that, you don't really get a chance to tell your story a lot, because you're always kind of advising people. You're more of you're in a service role, always helping folks out, always educating people. But who is the woman behind the brand? Like, I want to talk about her. So let's go ahead and break that down, man. So how did you get started in entrepreneurship? Did it come from your parents, or what kind of exposure did you have to kind of like jumpstart you in this area?
That is a really good question. I didn't even think of entrepreneurship stemming from my parents, right? Now that you've said that, my mom actually had been an entrepreneur when I made the decision to go into entrepreneurship. For years, she'd fallen into entrepreneurship in 1999. So I had that framework, already established, seeing a woman with a whole family navigate entrepreneurship. So it was pretty empowering. But for me, I started in 2012 with my own photography company. So in law school, I had been interested in taking photos of friends as just, a side gig or a side hustle. But a lot of my classmates saw that my work was really good. So they actually started hiring me. Okay. So I was like, let me make this into a brand. I got a logo, I got the name established, and then it just took off there. And I brought it to Tampa, and things progressed over time.
That's what's up. So you actually started a photography business while you were in law school?
Yes.
Girl,
yes.
Crazy.
My third year, my very last year in law school.
Crazy.
Like, do you really not have enough time? Mm-hmm. I'm studying for exams and I'm opening up in a company. Like, who does that?
So how did you balance that?
I would take photos from my classmates on weekends. So a lot of our classes were just Monday through Thursday. The upper level law students were able to get Fridays off. So we would just go around. It was actually 3 of us in the law school that were photographers, which is crazy. So I had competition, okay? And the fact that I had competition and still a solid client base was insane. But we would take photos at the main campus, inside the law school, because, the law school is basically a lawyer's dream. You have mock courtrooms, conference rooms. So everyone wants to have their photos taken there before they go out into the real world. Right. And why not do that in law school, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of my classmates were using their images. for promotional things after law school.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So obviously, so now you started your business in 2012. Before that, what were some of the influences, or what were some of the things that you were exposed to just growing up? Just obviously your mom was in entrepreneurship. So that had to have some type of direct influence on you, watching your mom probably bust her ass all the time working.
Well, it's my my perception of entrepreneurship was through my mom, the lens of my mom. So I wouldn't say she bust her ass, because my mom is one of those women that aspires and maintains the soft life, okay? Before the soft life was even a thing. So she's not gonna bust her ass doing nothing.
Yep.
She made it look easy. So while she had her staff, because we had a in-home daycare, and she had staff, and she would always go, out, do her thing, run errands during the day, and then come back, do homework with the after school kids, and the parents would pick up the kids, and it would be the end of her day.
Oh,
but I saw her balance being a mother, still maintaining self-care, and also delegating work to other people, because that's what entrepreneurship is. You don't have to be in the mix 100% of the time. And a lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah. Well, once you have a team of people, it's kind of easy, not say easy, but it alleviates a lot of pressure off you to do a lot of that grunt work. Not saying grunt work is bad, but when you're a business owner, you know this firsthand. It allows you to create, it allows you to focus on getting more clients, gaining more exposure, marketing. You get to focus on higher value things that either expand your business, build your business, as opposed to taking you away from it, trying to just pay the bills. So definitely understand that. So now that you've been in entrepreneurship for a while now, so just tell me some of what your motivation it was to start your own law firm, because obviously anybody can go work for a high dollar or high, valued law firm somewhere, New York or whatever. Obviously you talented enough to do that. So what made you want to go start your own thing?
So in high school, I wrote a paper. I remember writing this paper, and it asked—
Where'd you go to high school, by the way? Sorry to cut you off. Okay. I didn't know you went to Blake. That's what's up. What's up.
Yeah. I'm born and raised in Tampa. So I am a true Tampanian. And so I remember writing this essay, and it said, where do you see yourself, in, I guess, 20 years? And I said I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to have my own law firm, and I wanted to be like the premier Black-owned law firm with other Black attorneys, working. And I even have a photo of an essay that I wrote again in college, still maintaining that vision. So it was something that I had carried from high school. You know how you say that you want to do something, you drop it because you let the world tell you what you need to do, and then you pick it back up? That was kind of the idea of my law firm, and even the idea of me pursuing law. I stepped away from the dream several times because I was like, who gonna do that? Who's going to law school for 3 years and reading all that literature? I'm not doing that. But
what
of
got
course,
you through?
pick back up.
What got you through that? Yeah.
The desire to actually want to complete that goal. I have had it in my heart since I was probably 14, 15. So when you have something, on your spirit for such a long time, you probably are doing yourself a disservice if you don't pursue that goal,
Yep.
So I would say it's been something that I've just always wanted to do for years.
Awesome. That's awesome. It's cool to hear that, because, when you grow, as you get older, you have these convictions that stay with you, and it's certain things you can't shake. It's just like, damn, I can't really shake this feeling. It's just always been a part of me. I got to go get this. I got to go see what's there. I don't know what's there for me, but I know something is there for me on wherever that path is. And somehow, some way, some shape or form, we find our way. When we run from it, we oftentimes like, I don't want to do that, but we run from it, and then it finds us. No matter what, it's like our destiny just kind of it finds us, and you have an opportunity to chase it or not. So
Yeah.
what decision, not what decision, but what time in your life was it where you had to make that left, right decision? It's like, all right, I'm gonna go this way, I'm gonna go this way. And you had to go that way. What was that moment in your life? Can you explain that?
So there were several moments, right? So to begin with, I graduated I'm not going to give you dates because that's going to, age me, but I graduated from grad school, and I had been so burnt out from that experience. I just said, I know that my next goal is to go to law school, but I ain't doing that because I'm tired. I'm real
Right.
tired.
Burnt
I have
out,
to study
yeah.
for the LSAT. I got to, go and do essays to enter into these different schools. That's a lot of work, right? So
Mhm.
I set out a year just not even thinking about the decision. And I had a conversation with my friend, and she had finished her first semester in law school, and she was like, it's doable. It's not as challenging as you think. And I had that one moment where I said, you know what, I can do this. Let me go to law school. And that really was that conversation on the way from Tampa to Tallahassee about how difficult law school was. That was what pushed me in that direction. So I made the decision to go to law school then. And in law school, you have conversations about where you're going to go after.
Mhm.
And I just did not want to work for anyone. I knew my experience prior to, because I had a career going into law school. So I didn't want to repeat that. And I had spoke to several professors, because at my law school, our professors are not just our professors, but they're mentors. So I have these, face-to-face conversations with them. And one of my professors, she told me, she's like, you have a actual license. With a car, they give you your driver's license, you can just get up and start driving. The same goes when it comes to you practicing law, because they give you all of the tools in law school. You have the experience, right? So she really empowered me to do it. She was as soon as she graduated law school, she went straight into owning her own practice. I said, if she can do it, then I can do it. Right. And so during my third year of law school, I was the president of a organization. So we were challenged to host 3 events on the campus. So I made sure I tailored the events around entrepreneurship. So one of the events was how to open a new law firm right out of
college. Not college,
right.
law school, yeah.
Like, I know the events were super self-serving, but
hey, you got something out of it. Yeah.
Right. So I was truly inspired, because I was seeing my peers from the community, having experienced them as classmates, right? And then seeing them develop their practice right out of law school.
Yeah.
That was really huge, because you are often told by other people, like, that's scary. You shouldn't do that. You don't know what you're doing. And I'm like, yes, I do know what I'm doing, and I'm going to do it.
Right.
And folks don't get that.
Yeah. Can you speak to, you said something very important. You were explaining that about, your professors. Can you speak to the power of mentorship and how big that was in your life to kind of keep you either on track, kind of help you push you forward? Can you explain that?
I think with mentors, you have to have the right people in your life, right? Have the right conversations with people, and make sure that they have the same mindset as you do. Because there are a lot of people, even when you're trying to find a mentor, there's people that just have limiting beliefs that they've picked up in their own life.
Preach.
And you have to be mindful of that. You just cannot align yourself with people that's just not going to pour into you. And we don't need yes men in our lives, but we need people that's going to say, okay, I did it, so you can do it.
Right.
And I really appreciated the relationships that I gained in law school. Those women, I've never had mentorship on that level before. And like I said, I had a whole career before I started law school. And I worked with a large population of women with the state of Florida. And I did not experience mentorship just at all.
Right.
So having the exact opposite experience in law school was just such a blessing, because you've never encountered that. So now I take that same attitude and try to do that for any attorneys that come behind me.
And I can tell that's your whole brand is about like giving back, helping people, making sure your just clients and people that aren't even your clients are educated on how to protect their stuff and, copyright infringement. You do a lot of education. That's important. So mentorship is crazy, man, because if you have the wrong mentor or just somebody who may not be aligned with your vision and kind of where you want to go, man, they could put a lot of doubt into your mind. They could really kill your dreams, or you might outgrow mentors. They might still be really for that. Yeah, they might be for a season in your life, and you got to recognize that, because not all the time you want to go where they want to go. So it's really cool that you had somebody that was able to kind of like pour into you, because you can tell the people who've had that experience, because it's always like, nah, I got to get this away because somebody did it for me. Because you can't get to these places by yourself. People say it takes a village, but when
it really does.
It does. Exactly. It takes a village, because you're not going to get law advice and legal advice from everybody, but you also may need relationship advice. You also may need spiritual advice. You may need a bunch of stuff. You can't get that from one person. And I guess that's why the power of mentorship is so key. But here's the thing. The reason why she took you serious is because you took yourself serious. And a lot of times people they miss that part of it. Well, how do I find a mentor? How do I find this? Take yourself serious.
Yeah.
And the right person will be attracted to that, because they're going to see themselves in you. Like, you know what? Yeah. I want to help. How many young lawyers have you seen? First of all, for the people that's listening, she is not old by any stretch of the imagination. She acting like she old. She ain't old. She just done a lot in a short period of time. But when we talk about that, as far as like, the young lawyers that you see coming up, what are some of the struggles that you see, or what are some of maybe the hiccups that you see they run into a lot?
Well, I want to first address the comment you said, right? You said that she took me serious because I took myself serious, right? And this answers your question. She took me serious because I had enough confidence to ask for help, right? And a lot of people do not do that. And it's not just confidence. It could be pride, lack of too much pride, lack of confidence, too much pride. So you have to really check yourself before you approach a mentor. And I've had instances where people were just too reluctant to ask for help. I've been told that, I've even had someone misunderstand me when it comes to asking for help. Like if I am busy and I'm articulating that I'm busy, don't take it personal, right? And there people that really will take your time personally, your lack of time, I guess, or lack of availability personally. And I've had to express that to people. For me, if you need my help, communicate. If you want mentorship, tell me, because I love to help, but it's a matter of opening yourself up, making yourself vulnerable to ask for that help.
Right.
Maybe we're not, the proper individuals to work together, but I can put you in a position to communicate with someone in your same practice area that can help you. You know what I mean? So just have the confidence, or just take that pride away.
You got to it's one of those things, you can't be scared to look stupid. I'm one of those people. I don't care how I look in front of people, because guess what? You probably got the same question too. I'm just bold enough to ask. I want to know, because the quicker I ask, the quicker I get my answer. And I think that's kind of where people, they don't want to fail, or they don't want to look silly. But in entrepreneurship and hell, in business, anything, there's a process of looking that way. But once you accept that part of it, the quicker you get through it.
And you're always a student too. Remember that, as an entrepreneur, we are always learning. And when we are seeking out mentors, you always want to seek out someone that has more knowledge than you.
Right.
Because you do not know what you don't know. Like that's we're always, hungry for new knowledge. So I think that you have to keep that same level of thirst that you
Right.
had at the very
Yeah,
beginning.
that intensity, definitely.
Mhm.
So as far as your business is concerned, can you speak to actually just give me a story. Give me what's something that you had to learn? Like one of the biggest lessons that you had to learn, like running your own practice.
I'm actually still learning this, finding help, and not just finding help, but delegating the help, delegating the work in a articulate way that your staff understands and knows how to meet those metrics, right?
Right.
So I didn't just in terms of learning, I had to actually establish metrics in my business and set goals for my staff.
Can you speak to those metrics? Because I know people would love to know, because that's the details of business that I like. The metrics. What measurements or what data points are you looking for to give you the information you need to make your decisions?
I'll say this. I just had the aha moment yesterday, by the way. So I've been telling my admin to do certain assignments. And I'm like, could you please do social media posts for the week? But I'm not giving him a specific amount of posts. How many do you want to do? So you have to articulate that to your staff, because if you're telling them something general, they're going to just receive it in a general way. So you have to be extremely specific in what you want. And sometimes I'm moving so fast. I'm like, I just know I need a flyer. I need to get this done. And I send it to my staff. They get it done. But I look back and I'm like, well, where's the rest of the stuff? Where is the rest of the work? Where have you been working? So you hold them accountable. Everyone needs to be held accountable, including yourself as an entrepreneur. Because one thing I've learned is that, bringing people into the fold of my firm, I'm now delegating tasks that I haven't even learned myself. Right. So I'm asking people to come work in my business, doing tasks, working on software that I have not really fully understood.
Right.
And that is a huge mistake, because you can't truly delegate something without knowing what you need them to do.
That's true. That's very true, because then you leave aspects of your business essentially open, and now you're relying on somebody else to give you data or give you work that you really don't know the standard. You don't know what's what. That's crazy. It's crazy. It's cool to hear you say that, because as you grow in entrepreneurship, like you have to do everything yourself. But then when you get somebody, you got to trust them. And that's one of the hardest things to do, because you put so much blood, sweat, and tears. And the reason why you probably didn't tell them everything that needed to go into the flyers, because in your head, you already knew it. It was already up here, because you're so used to doing it. So you don't have to explain it and teach it. And so that's the difference between running a business and running a team, or being a solopreneur and running a company of people, because there's a level of leadership that goes with business that I think a lot of people kind of overlook, because your big businesses, you gotta have strong leadership. There's the accountability piece. You can't hold somebody accountable without adequate leadership in place. And so now those lessons that you're kind of coming across is, okay, how do I communicate to my team? What do I say to them to get the exact number? So now it's like, okay, I need to tell them exactly what I want, because now I can hold them to those exact numbers and they don't have any questions about that. So these are lessons that you just kind of pick up along the way. And a lot of people think that this isn't a book. Nah, this ain't in no book, man. You gotta live
it's experience. This. It really is. And I'll say another thing that I learned on top of that is, your business will go through seasons, right? And for me, my business went through a season of solitude. And that means it was just me.
That's necessary. Please talk about that season of Of growth,
policy.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah, that necessity. Talk about it.
yeah. So I started my business with just myself, and then I brought on interns initially, folks that wanted to be paralegals or actual lawyers. Actually, two of my interns are now practicing attorneys, which is so cool. But at that time, I started to scale the business, bring on, hiring help, and then realizing that even as I'm hiring help, there's still certain procedures that I hadn't even put in place. So it only took for me to lose my very last staff member in 2018 that I had to just go back and retreat, go and do all of the work. So from the year of 2018, actually 2019, very start of the year, 2019 to 2021, maybe, I was by myself doing all of the work, all of the admin work, which is insane to be an attorney and a paralegal and a law clerk and the receptionist. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. That's how,
right?
yeah.
So I really had to get back into my business and operate it from a employee standpoint. So I can see all, experiences that all of my staff had while they were working with me, so that when I scale my business again, I'm able to have processes and procedures in place to alleviate some of the work that they had to do, because there was a lot of stuff that could have been streamlined that I didn't realize that it needed to be streamlined until I got ahead of it,
Right. That makes complete sense. I want to shift over to some of your actual business expertise. Actually, you know what? Okay. Hold up, because I actually had another question. I wrote it down. Now, when you first started making a little bit of money, right? Not like balling, but you made a little bit to say, okay, I'm making a profit month over month. I'm making a profit. Where did you invest the money first? When you reinvested money back into the business, where did you put it? And the second part to that question is, how did it grow? Like, because obviously you make different decisions as you grow in business. Where did you first start reinvesting your money back into it? And then how did that grow and how did those decisions change?
I probably, I did the traditional thing, right? I bought assets. I bought furniture in my office. I needed printers. I needed to upgrade some stuff. That the only return in that was the increase in productivity. But
right. So you got an immediate measurable, right? That's what I want to know. So where'd you put your dollars and what did you get from it? So you put money here and you got productivity.
Yeah. And I'll say this, I'm a little salty right now because the printer I bought is in a trash bag over in the corner of my room. So the investment I made is in the trash. Hey. But no, I certainly did invest in first gaining assets within the business, which is, of course, actual machines that will produce productivity. But in 2019, no, it was 2018. I keep on forgetting the years. My God, 2018, I decided to reinvest in my business in software, because this is pre-pandemic now.
Right.
When I started my business, my very initial goal was for it to be a virtual law firm. So I let the world tell me that you need to have this physical space. You need to bring clients in to an actual office. And I did not want to do that.
Right.
And which is why I'm a little salty, because I had to buy all of this furniture, like large pieces of furniture. And now what do you have to say? I don't have the furniture anymore, but now I have software. So I really had to come back into my business and reframe it. So what was important to me back in 2014, 2015 is not what's important to me now. Scaling my business and making the client experience streamlined is far more important than having an office space that people would just show up to whenever they want to.
So thank you so much for answering that question. You get really good answer. So how do you, as a lawyer, right? Because I've never even thought about this from a law firm perspective. How do you create that experience for your customer or for your client?
I try to make it easy. Like I said, I use software. So my customer, my CRM software is supposed to be user friendly, but I will say this: I do service a demographic of the population that just hates computers. When I have probate clients, and they're older, so they just don't like
They don't
tech.
like it. No.
And then of course the estate planning clients. I do have a lot of millennials that do estate planning. My receptionist told me, she's like, you are the only one that has this young set of clients. A lot of my clients are really young, but there is a small group that just don't like the computer. So we've had to navigate around that, but everything's online. We are paperless. We give access to the portal. If they need anything, they can click a button to schedule a call. I just try to make it as easy as possible, as opposed to having the traditional law firm experience where you have to call the receptionist and set an appointment. No, you can actually have access to my calendar. Click that button and you can schedule an appointment. But there's a lot of people that are very new to the idea of virtual law firms.
Yeah.
So they try to go the traditional route,
Right,
and I kind of have to tailor them back into my policies so that they can see, hey, I'm making this easy for you. You don't have to come to my office. Just scan it,
Right.
So
And it's crazy how you do that and they still kind of get it.
Nope.
It's like, nah, I'm making this easy.
I asked my staff, I'm like, this is a button right there. Why didn't they press it? And he's like, I don't know. I can make it red. So we turn our buttons from green to red.
But see that, and so what people don't know and what people may not realize is that something that small can have a drastic change in your business. Because I'll give you a prime example. So Airbnb business, when I was running that, and when I first got started, I used to get a bunch of questions. All right, when is checkout time? When is this? Where is this at? Where is this located? I'm like, all right, I'm sick of these questions. So let me go ahead and just send these people a whole list on check-in day. They get it when they first book. And on check-in day, I would just send, an exhaustive, like, thank you for booking. This is your check-in time. This is your checkout time. This is what you should expect. And the amount of questions I got on the back end started to go down a lot. It almost eliminated everything. And so what people don't realize is that little red button that shows that client this or whatever you're trying to get across to them, that could be the difference between closing or losing them, because they may not want to do the virtual thing, right? They may want to come into a physical office and location. And so they need to be able to not just see it on the screen, but comprehend it on the screen. And so in that piece is what a tech person has to get across to that. And that's just knowing how the business works, the small details.
I got a message from a potential client last week, and she was like, do I have to keep on doing intake forms? I don't want to do all this computer stuff. And I had to, of course, respond in a professional way. But the response to that from an entrepreneur's perspective is, I can accommodate you as much as I can, but my procedures are still what they are, right? So I can do the hand holding and I'm okay with that. But if you are just not okay with utilizing software to just make this process a little bit easy for you and then maybe we are not the right fit. And I'm okay with that. And as an entrepreneur, we have to be okay when certain clients are not for us.
Yes. Preach, girl. Preach. You on it, girl. You got a sermon going.
I just really don't take offense to it because, again, the way that I've modeled my business, I've modeled it for the type of client that I want to attract.
Right. How long did it take you to adopt that mindset?
I had to grow into that mindset. I didn't just adopt it. So I had to grow into it.
Speak to that process of growth, because I know exactly what you're talking about. But for the listeners, they may not know what that process looks like in growing into not caring.
Yeah. So, and it's even still now. So when I saw that initial email, I was just like, why? Why would you want your life to be better, right? And I had to think about how certain things are just not for us.
Right.
And that client may just not be for me. It takes a lot more stress and hurt on my end if I thought about why they weren't going to hire me. So if I try to change my business model specific to that client's needs, then I'm doing myself a disservice, right? So, and instead of that, just don't take offense. You really have to keep yourself in check, right? Because you're going to see something that offends you, and then you realize, wait, I don't really care if they don't want to do an intake form online. That's just not my client.
There you go.
But I can find you an attorney that does do intakes in the paper route, because I don't believe in lack, and I don't want to operate from that energy. I feel that there is a client for everyone.
Right.
And my clients, my tribe will find me. They have. And the people that ride for me, they ride.
Yep.
My clients are probably by far the most loyal clients I've had.
Yeah.
I've ever experienced.
Yeah. And that speaks to your work. That speaks to the love you pour into your work, because people can feel that. People know when they dealing with a business that actually cares. Just like, even let's say you're dealing with somebody that works at Walmart. It doesn't matter where you are. You know what good customer service feels like. Because if you go to a cashier and they acting with a stank ass attitude, you know. And on the opposite end, you run into somebody that has a really good day and they just got their energy is up. You feel that too. It's no different.
Absolutely.
It's no different. Absolutely. And that's what keeps the clientele there. Yeah, man. All right. So let's switch over to some business topics. Here's the fun stuff. So, and again, Shaunette, thank you so much for sharing your story, because a lot of people don't know what it's like. I don't even know what it's like to run a law office, right? So that's super cool. That's super cool. Right. So my first question for you, in getting into actually what you do for a living, can you speak to business structures? Can you speak to business structures, kind of break those down a little bit, just to kind of get people to identify where they would go, where they would start if they wanted to start a business?
So it's so funny because I just did the very first module of it. I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to do a
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just recorded the first module of the Entrepreneurial Leap Academy, where I do teach entrepreneurs the legal landscape around, operating a business, but not knowing when those pitfalls are going to come into play. So the first discussion, we spoke about business structures. So the general answer to your question is, it's not a one size fits all type of scenario, but you have the different business structures, such as the sole proprietor, the general partnership. You have your corporations, your C Corps and S Corp, and your nonprofits, and then you have your LLCs. So many people kind of ebb and flow into different ones, and they probably don't realize that they do. So as a sole proprietor, it's just yourself, right? And you have unlimited liability to all of your creditors. So that means that whenever you are conducting business, you're entering into contracts, and or there's any kind of judgment against your business, they can attach to your personal asset, right? And that also goes into a general partnership. With a general partnership, you have two people to get the compensation from, as opposed to one. So sometimes you'll see that the court will ask for compensation from either one partner, or half, of the judgment will be requested from partner A, and then partner B will pay the other half. And sometimes partner A will be asked to pay the entire amount, because partner A has more money. They don't care where they get it from, by the way, as long as it's the judgment satisfied, right? So I would tell anyone that decides to get a sole proprietorship or general partnership, or any business structure, to get a insurance policy. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but everyone should have insurance. But the issue is, what if your insurance does not cover the damage, the amount of damage that your business has put you through? So either you have more debt than the insurance covers, because sometimes the insurance is not going to cover your credit card debt. It's actually going to cover any negligence that you've engaged in. So when you have assets, your home, specifically, your homestead is not going to be attached by a creditor in Florida specifically, but your car, your bank account, so they can kind of put you on child support, right? So Yeah, they can contact your employer and ask the employer to take a portion of your check out.
They can garnish they can garnish wages.
Yes, so a writ of garnishment. Yep. So as a sole proprietor, a lot of people don't realize that you are really engaging in a risky business because the courts can ask that your employer compensate and fulfill any judgment that's against your business. So going into the actual business structures, and all of them are actual business structures, but the corporations, the LLCs, these are business structures that's going to protect you, give you limited liability.
Right.
So when they say limited, they really mean limited because sometimes in court and just in law, we can pierce the corporate veil. And what that means is if you're not operating your business in compliance, then the same collateral damage that a sole proprietor or a general partner would have in terms of a lawsuit, you would experience that as well. So you have to protect yourself. And there's certain ways that attorneys can pierce a veil. So say, for instance, you're an LLC. If you're not operating in compliance fully, and a good example is your business is undercapitalized, and that means that you don't have enough money in your business to pay out all of the debts of the business. So if you have an undercapitalization of your business, then the courts can go and attach to your personal assets. Because the logic is if you have more money than your business, then why aren't you paying the debt of the business, right?
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Right. Because as a business owner, we have the responsibility to pour back into our business. And if our business is suffering financially, then we still have to supplement the income of that. So that's called, so you shouldn't make an owner's draw. So you should not pull too much money out of the business to make it insolvent. And you need to, at least, at the very least, still contribute. So continuously providing owner's contributions to your business if it needs it. So your operating agreement should speak to whether or not you are required to have contributions or if they are passive. And passive means that when the business needs it, you as the business owner must contribute to pay out the bills.
Okay. Thank you. That was a good explanation. So as far as the liability piece, I want to talk about that for like just a few more minutes. So obviously, you mentioned what limited liability means, what structures provide that limited liability. So that way the listeners can understand, all right, well, under this structure, I'm protected.
So an LLC, a corporation, with a corporation specifically, it's a lot of red tape. So you have to stay in full compliance. So you have to have your annual meetings. You have to have your shareholders agreement, your bylaws, your articles have to be sent to the state. And you just have to maintain ongoing compliance, no commingling of funds. And if there's any slight deviation out of compliance, then again, that exposes you to the liability that one would have as a sole proprietor or a general partner, right? So I always tell my clients, making the decision of determining if you want to be a corporation or an LLC, you have to ask yourself one of two things. What are your goals, right? If your goal is to operate your business and, scale it and bring as much funding in as you can through profits, then have a low maintenance business structure. But if your goal is to build a business and actually have shares, bring in investors, and make it attractive to an investor, then of course, get a corporation if that is the business structure that particular investor desires, right? Because sometimes you can have an investor-friendly LLC created, and that's very nuanced. It's not something that you can do on your own. It is something that you need an attorney to do. But I always say if you have a business structure that requires a lot of compliance, it's going to be extremely easy to get tripped up. And then the corporate veil is pierced. And then essentially it exposes you to liability.
Right.
But with an LLC, it's very just low maintenance. You're not required to have your annual meetings. You're not required to have an operating agreement, but I tell people that they should.
They need
That's
one.
probably
Yeah.
by far the most
Definitely
important.
need one. Yeah. I was about to say, how you operate a business without
Legally,
one?
well, legally, you don't have to have an operating agreement, right?
Yeah.
It's your internal document. It's the document that essentially says that I am separate from my company. And in the event that this happens to my company or to me, then this is how it plays out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to, but if you don't have an operating agreement, then your business is going to be left up to interpretation by the laws that are already set forth for the LLC, right?
It's like having a
now
will.
You have the legislator telling you how you're going to run your business, right?
It's like having a will for your business. It's like how do things kind of play out if things don't go your way? And the same thing with your life. If you don't have a will for your life, well, the state gets to determine what happens to that money. If it doesn't, if you owe money,
right?
if you owe money, the state gonna get their money.
Exactly. And that document actually serves as evidence that you and your company are two distinct entities. Mm-hmm. You are separate from your company. And a lot of people they truly do operate LLCs without operating agreements. And I'm talking about not just people that have one member in that LLC. You have folks that are operating multi-member LLCs without anything in writing.
And that's kind of where I was going to get. I'm like, how do you operate? Because a lot of people go into business with other people. Even if you start a partnership with somebody, you can still start an LLC. With that, I'm like, well, how do you do that if you don't know the rules between each other? Because something's not going to go right.
So conflict is going to eventually arise, right? Yep. And that's one of the things that the operating agreement speaks to. So you are going to delegate the task amongst the owners. So one owner will be over finances, one will be over operations. All of that is discussed in the operating agreement, not through the text message conversation that you had with your friend planning the business. It's on the operating agreement. So if you guys are ever in a battle against one another, you go straight to that agreement. And that is your constitution. That's your business's constitution. Like, how are we going to operate and conduct business together? And what happens if one of us passes away? It really speaks to every scenario that comes up. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize, that if they have an operating agreement, everything that happens, even the disputes that happen in a business, are kept secret, right? Because you can choose to go to arbitration as opposed to the circuit civil down at the courthouse, right? So when you have a case before the judge in any county court, right, all of those documents are public. You do not want your business's business out in the streets, right?
Because anybody can pull it.
Yes. And then when you are attaching different pleadings in your case, you're going to attach evidence. Sometimes the evidence can be text messages. The evidence can be bank statements. Imagine all of the information that you have just had to publicly disclose about your business. Some information is redacted, right? Exactly. Wow. You could have avoided all of that with an agreement that spoke to different issues that came up. Mm-hmm. And you could also speak to disclosure of those issues, keeping things confidential.
So when somebody starts a business, what order should they go in?
If you're doing an LLC, generally most people...
That's the most popular one. So let's go with that.
Generally, most people in Florida will choose LLC as the business structure. Mm-hmm. And what they'll do is go to Sunbiz, because, Sunbiz is so user-friendly. Yeah. And file their articles of organization. And I've seen it all done correctly, right? Because it's easy. But then you have the internal structure of the business. And if you don't properly form the internal structure of the business, then you are essentially diverting yourself back to either sole proprietor or a general partnership, because it's as if you're conducting business in that manner as an alter ego, because you're not in compliance. And like I said, the operating agreement is going to be the document that governs the business. And if a judge sees it and see that you don't have an operating agreement, then they have to impose the laws that the legislature says you're supposed to follow in terms of conducting business. You don't want the government to tell you how to do business.
No, you don't. You don't want them in your business.
To do business exactly on your own.
Right.
So I just recommend that people really just, if you're going to do it yourself, and I don't recommend that you do it, at the very least, contact an attorney for an operating agreement.
There you go. And I was going to ask you that where could somebody get something like that done? Because a lot of people don't have that. Is it too late? Even if so, a lot of people have already started LLCs. Is it too late for them to go get one?
No. So the beauty of an LLC in any business structure is that you can change your business structure at any time. As when your needs start to change, say, for instance, you've been in business for 10 years and you're like, I need an investor. Then you can turn your company into a corporation. You can do a conversion. So
there you go. That was because I wrote that down. Now, how would somebody actually do that? Because you might have people that have started out as a sole proprietorship or a general partnership, and they might hear this interview and be like, damn, I really do need to go get an LLC, but they have no idea how to even change over. They might go start a whole brand new LLC. So what's the best way to get that done?
Yeah. So some folks will start as a sole proprietor, and then they will file at the fictitious name. That's huge. They always do the fictitious name. So what I tell my clients that have done that is you can indeed file your articles. So as a sole proprietor, you don't have to do the fictitious name filing. That's only if you want to secure your name in the state of Florida. But you can do the filing the articles of organization, still list your business name as your fictitious name was listed. But of course, it's going to now say the fictitious name, comma, LLC. And then you list your name and other partners in the business. And you have to determine if those individuals are going to be members, if they're going to be managers. And you also have to determine in your LLC, is your LLC going to be a member managed LLC or a manager managed LLC?
What's the difference? Because that's on the website. That's on the website. When you go on SunBiz and you have to file your annual report every year, they ask you you have to list your managers. If they change, that's when you change them. So what's the difference between those types of structures?
So for me, I am a member managed LLC. And if you have a manager managed LLC, that means that all of the owners of the company are not operating the business. Or they can designate one owner. So say, for instance, it's 5 owners of the company in the LLC, and one of the members is running the day-to-day, right? Okay. That is called a manager managed business, right? They designate one person. Whereas with a member managed LLC, then it's just myself. I own the company. I operate the company. The owner operator. Manager manage. Member manage, you can either designate one member or a third party that is just operating the business. So multi-member LLC is when you have different classes of membership. So you can have Class A, who just has voting rights in the company. So you can determine the Class A has voting rights. So they'll say, are we going to buy a building? Are we going to bring in more staff? Those are the decision makers. But then you have Class B, who are the non-decision makers. They don't have any voting rights, but they still share in the profits and losses of the business. Those are your investors. That's how you are able to model your LLC in an investor-friendly way by having a multi-member LLC class. So, like I said, you can create your companies and tailor them in a way that is investor friendly, but you have to know your goals first.
You dropping so much game. Like I'm over here, like a lot of this stuff, obviously I've run into it before. I've seen it, but there's some like, dang, I didn't know that. Or I didn't know why. Like I've seen it and I know what to do, but I don't know why. I'm like, I know I'm
right. I'm like, why did that even say that? Right.
I want to shift over to the Econix 10. So these are just some 10 quick questions for you. Now, don't get scared, nothing crazy. All right. You ready? All right. Cool. Here we go. So first question, what would you title this chapter in your life?
Ooh, peace.
There we go. Soft life. Now, number 2, what superpower would you have?
Reading someone's mind.
Ooh, that's
Folks think I already do it.
I
I can't.
feel you.
I would love to.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. I don't know. You might not like what you find. Some people evil.
That's true.
Number 3. What would you invest in right now if money was not an issue?
Probably property, land for my entire family.
There you go. You sound like my sister. Shout out to my sister. Woo-hoo. Number 4. If you weren't doing this, what would your other profession be?
Probably would fall back into photography full time.
Okay. Number 6. What keeps you up at night?
Well, lately, this Nintendo Switch that I bought.
What game you playing?
Don't tell nobody.
I won't tell nobody.
Disney's Dreamlight Valley. I'm just such a
What game?
Disney's Dreamlight Valley. Yeah.
Did it just come out?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's about the last 3 months.
Okay. I'm huge on the Switch, man. I got a PlayStation 5 and a Switch, and I mean, obviously the 5 is I use that, but like that Switch, oh, I love it. I love my
Up all
Switch.
night.
Yep, I love
in my bed with the Switch.
I love
that's
my Switch.
what's keeping me up all night.
Yeah, your Switch. I feel you, girl. Number 7. What's something that the average person would not know about you?
Well, you already told my business.
I know. I'm sorry. I told them about your shoe game.
my shoe game. I can't. Oh, you can't see it. Oh man, wrong camera. Shoe game.
Hey, let's go. Let's go.
I have a problem.
Number 8. What is your favorite productivity hack? What's the thing you do to get things done?
Time blocking. That's new for me. So certain days I have specific tasks. So contract review for like 2 hours on a Wednesday. If I don't have any contracts, I get to do nothing.
Can I have a follow-up to that? It's not in the Econix 10, but like, because I'm working on the whole time block situation. How do you determine? I'm working on this too now, because I've tried time blocking, but I just spend too much time on a task. Or how do you gauge how much time is going to take you to, do a certain task, especially something that may be more creative? Something more practical is easy to kind of like do it. Like, all right, I know I got to do this 30 minutes.
Right. So if you have a ton of tasks that you have to complete during the week, you just got to allot yourself. You know how much generally time it takes for you to complete one of those tasks within that category, right? So you give yourself at least enough time to complete that one task and maybe start on another task. And that's what I've done. So I know for me, I've given myself 2 to maybe 3 hour blocks for certain things. And if I don't complete that task, I walk away from it. It's a mental thing because you really want to sit there until it's finished and you can't. You really have to just keep it on your list until the following week.
Man.
So
yeah, that's me. Cause I'm the type of person, it's so hard for me to focus. I got ADD like crazy. So when I sit down and get to that point of focus, I'm like, don't bother me. I'm working until it's done. If that takes 6 hours, that's how long it takes. Yeah. Not always the best.
You got a time block. It's a game changer.
Yeah. I'm gonna write that. I'm gonna look that up. I might have to implement that. All right. Number 9. Name 3 most influential people in your life.
I would say my parents, of course. That's number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Influential. The professor that I spoke about, that mentored me, she was extremely influential in my life. And my grandmother.
There we go. Shout out to grandma. I skipped a question. So 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, who's coming to your dinner? Who's coming to the table?
Beyonce, no.
There we go.
We can bring Jay-Z too.
You can bring Jay?
And Michelle, of course. Oprah.
Oprah, yeah. You got a solid table.
I got more though.
Okay,
Joe and Eckhart Tolle.
I'm listening to his audiobook right now. It's called Give Me a Sec.
Now?
Yes. I'm listening to the audio.
I gotta listen to it again.
I was running to it this week, just trying to like figure it out. the perspective that you gain from that book, I'm listening to the first chapter. I'm kind of through the second, but the perspective is so powerful about how to stay present in the moment and not look too far ahead. Just kind of stay.
It's hard too. It is so hard to stay present because sometimes you find your mind wandering, and then you go down this like path, and you just got to draw yourself back in. And I really have to revisit that book because that book is good.
You know, man, it's about just staying in tune. You know, because if you're in tune with self, it's easier to pull yourself back to the alignment when you kind of get off a little bit. You don't get off. Yeah.
You have to keep yourself in check. But in order for you to stay tuned, you know, and self, you have to be able to say, okay, I know when my mind is tripping.
Yes. You got to be able to recognize it. You got to, it's not that it doesn't happen. It's just the ability to recognize and then make the adjustment to keep you where you need to be. That's that, man. Yeah, we could talk about that all day. Last question. Number 10, you better not get this wrong. PB&J or grilled cheese?
I would say a grilled cheese.
Okay. PB&J.
I got it wrong.
I like peanut butter and jelly.
I just don't want to hide it now after I finish eating, and peanut butter and jelly gives you that. You got to have some juice.
You got to need some milk, something. Sure.
Yeah.
So,
you can't just eat it wrong.
That's the Econix 10. So what I want you to do now, the last thing I want you to do for everybody is just tell us where to find you. If somebody wants to do business with you, if they want you on their podcast or they want to be a client, how do they get in contact with you? How do they make you rich?
Okay, so you can find me on all social media platforms. Stokes Law Group is the handle. You can also go to my website, which is Stokes Legal Counsel, and counsel is spelled SEL.
You better let them know.
Right. the proper way.
Right.
And you can call me, but we prefer email, but the office number is 813-444-4156. And follow us on all social media. We're also establishing a YouTube presence, so you'll see us soon. That's it.
Cool. So what I will do, guys, as always, go into the show notes. All her links will be in there, so you don't have to look too far to find her. So if you want to find her, all links will be there. Check her out. And that's all we have today, guys. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you, Shaunette, for coming on. I appreciate you. Appreciate you for being a boss, man, and really sharing game, because a lot of people don't get this. So thank you. And that's it, y'all. Have a good one. Peace.